Assignment 2. Carry out a risk assessment for your classroom B54 for the holding of dance classes. Any risk assessment must be carried out in the manner best suited to the business concerned. The form of the assessment will depend on the complexity of the task involved. Reference Kinsella 2012. What is a risk assessment? A risk assessment is a thorough look and identification of hazards present in your workplace or any place under your control that may cause injury to people. After the hazards have been identified, you analyze and evaluate the level of risk associated with the hazards. You then decide what measures are required to eliminate, mitigate, or control the risk. The quality of risk assessment will depend upon resources availability, information, training, experience, support, time devoted, involvement, motivation, and interest of the team, and its composition. Reference Lale 2012. Why do a risk assessment? Legal reasons. Section 19 of the Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Act 2005 requires that employers and those who control workplaces to any extent must identify the hazards in the workplaces under their control and assess the risks to safety and health at work presented by these hazards. As referenced by HSA 2017. Moral and ethical reasons. An employer is ethically bound to do all they can to ensure no one suffers ill health, illness, or death. An employer or self-employed person must do a suitable and sufficient risk assessment of the risks found within your workplace and its associated activities to protect your employees and others from those risks they may be exposed to or affected by. Referenced Walker 2015. There's a 5-step guide to a risk assessment. Step 1, identify the hazards. Step 2, decide who might be harmed and how. Step 3, evaluate the risks and decide on control measures. Step 4, record your findings. Step 5, review your assessment and update as and when necessary. Some factors to consider when completing a risk assessment in room B54. Ensure the suitability of the classroom. Tables and chairs have already been moved by AIT staff. Adequate lighting. Suitable room temperatures. Any of the attendees needing special consideration or attention. Additional safety requirements in the event of an emergency. First aid facilities and trained first aiders will be available. Defibrillator present. And assume adjoining classrooms empty so that noise from dance class does not cause any interference. The number of identified hazards in the dance class. 1. Manual handling, slips, trips and falls, access and egress, and stairs. Methods used in risk assessment. Risk control are measures and actions that can be taken to reduce the extent of exposure to hazard. Risk involves a hierarchy of control measures. So the hierarchy of controls measures start with the most preferred measure is elimination, eliminate the hazard. Substitution, isolation, engineering controls, administrative controls, and lastly, PPE or personal protective equipment. The methods used in risk assessment. Well, the method I'm going to use is a 3x3 matrix used to quantify the risks. So in the risk assessment, you identify the hazards and you assess the risks associated with the hazard. So I got likelihood versus impact. So from 1 to 5 is risks. Would 1 acceptable risk low being a 1, acceptable risk 2 being a medium, unacceptable risk high 3, and unacceptable risk very extreme 5. The risk assessment template, the Athlone Dance tool, is done in the system. Hazard, risk rating, control measures, and risk after control measures. So we'll look at the first First hazard was manual handling. The risk is back injury, musculoskeletal injury. Give that a risk rating of 2. The control measure relevant manual handling training, and each manual handling task is assessed. Sound equipment transported by mechanical means if possible. The risk after control measures was a low 1. Slips, trips and falls. Poor housekeeping, incorrect footwear, trailing wires. That was given a medium 2 in the risk rating. The control measures were good housekeeping practices are in place, correct dance footwear, all leads and wires kept tidy to prevent trip hazards. That, after control measures, was a low 1. Access and egress. Slips, trips and falls, evacuation and emergency, fire exits location blocked with table and chairs. The risk rating for that was a medium 2. Control measures were check fire exits are clear of table and chairs, communicate fire exits at the beginning of class, designate muster points in the event of an emergency, and sign in attendees. Risk after control measures was a low 1. Stairs, slips, trips and falls, and a badly lit stairwell. That was given a risk rating of medium 2. Control measures, hold handrail when on the stairs, adequate lighting on the stairwell, and use a lift if possible. Risk after control measures down to a low 1. Risk assessment findings. Dancing class to be made aware of risk assessment findings before class commences. Control measures and emergency procedures to be communicated before dancing commences. Adequate supervision and controls to be in place. The result of the risk assessment and any subsequent revision of the safety statement must be brought to the attention of all concerned. That was referenced Kinsella 2012. That is the end of my presentation.